Finance Investment Committee. I want to take a minute to welcome our two newest members who weren't able to be here last month because they were both on fall break stuff, but Commissioner Allen, Commissioner Kaplan, welcome to the group. Hopefully y'all can show us how to do things better. Would like to take just a minute here to acknowledge the passing of one of our first leaders, Mr. Matt Murphy, longtime attorney, Murphy, yes, in Murfreesboro. Yeah, that's when you've been here a long time, when the town's named after your family. And tragic loss for the family. Want to have to keep all of them in everybody's thoughts and prayers. Moving right along, we hope everybody got a chance to look at the minutes, and if so, I'd entertain a motion to approve. Motion Commissioner Jernigan. Second Commissioner Allen. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, we're going to start off with resolution authorizing $4,275,000 multifamily housing revenue bond for the Health and Educational Facilities Board. Mr. Bolden, are you going to handle that for us?
I will, Mr. Chairman. This is sort of the garden variety multifamily housing project that we come to the committee with from time to time. It is conduit financing. It involves no liability to the county or to the board, and it doesn't involve any tax abatement component. It's revenue neutral to the county, and if the committee would like to know about any of the particulars of the project, we have Mr. Sean McGuire here with Freeman Webb, and he can describe the particulars if you're so inclined.
I've just got one or two questions. What specifically is the source of revenue that's used to pay the interest on these bonds?
The income
from the houses. And when you say there's no liability for the county, it's because these are not general obligation.
They're not. They're strictly revenue bonds.
How much higher of a rate of interest do you pay because of that?
Well, it's actually because with a revenue bond as opposed to a private financing or GO bond.
Or just a GO bond?
Well, I'm not really sure. The spread moves all the time, so I frankly don't know.
I'm
I
just
don't
curious.
I don't really deal with GO bonds, so I can't tell you.
And where is this housing facility? May as well say, where are both of them?
Well, maybe if we could let Mr. McGuire come up and address the specifics.
You're just the
health
conduit.
and ed guy. That's right.
Let me make sure I get the right address for you. So Green Meadow Apartments is located at 425 Warrior Drive, and then Rutherford Woodlands is located at 1310 North Rutherford Boulevard.
This isn't, we do these pretty regularly, and it also gives a chance to help the investors to be able to afford to renovate these facilities. And sometimes an older apartment complex can become a blight on a neighborhood, and this is really, in my opinion, a lot of times a blessing to the neighborhood to revitalize the area.
I'll make a motion to approve the county being the conduit, because you need some government agency to afford.
Precisely. Yes.
We have a motion, Commissioner Schaefer, and a second, Commissioner Kaplan. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. All right, number 3, resolution authorizing $3,795,000 multifamily housing revenue bond for the Health and Educational Facilities Board. This is the second one you just mentioned a second ago, the same exact situation.
That's right, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to approve.
Motion, Commissioner P.
Second.
Second, Mr. Jernigan. Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Motion passes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. We're going to move item 16 up to this spot on the agenda because Miss Sonia has to be somewhere. It's very important. So, approval for general fund budget amendment for finance, whichever one of you all want to take off.
I'll start and then let Sonia come right behind. The amendment request is to increase the sheriff's budget, sergeant line item 52,420 related benefits, the jail 12,900 also for sergeants. And then there's a sergeant in the data processing personnel line, and all that totals 79,710. The next amendment has to do with the sergeants in the workhouse. Request for increase of $8,150 in related benefits, and then juvenile detention, $7,055 for those sergeants, for a total of these two functions being $18,222. So then I'll give to Sonia to kind of explain
Okay,
why
what
we're
happened,
asking.
a few years ago, you all may recall that we did a survey. We expanded the table from 14 grades to some 56 grades. And at that time, we took the survey data and we placed the job titles in the survey where the survey reflected that they should go. So the sergeant's position was placed in the place in the pay grade that it was slotted to go based on the survey. But where the problem came into place is when a corporal, and it wasn't really as much a factor in the juvenile detention and the correctional work center, because typically when their individuals would get promoted, they wouldn't have been in the position quite as long. And what happened in the sheriff's office is that they had somebody with some tenure on them, and they had worked in multiple positions throughout the department, and they would get promoted then to a sergeant. Sometimes there were two situations where I can think of where the person would be promoted with additional responsibilities, and some of them were pretty big responsibilities, and they'd get a $100 pay increase for a year. And so if you divide that out over the time, there was not an incentive for those individuals with the time and experience with the organization to move up. So while our survey is accurate, in this situation, it was better to move this up a grade to give them something that would be a meaningful increase for the additional job duties. And the sheriff came to us about it. I evaluated it, looked back over the information to make sure that, we had not made an error in the survey. And then I shared that information with the mayor and made the recommendation that moving it up a subgrade, so it's not like it's going from the primary grade from 7 to 8, but it's going from a subgrade 25 to 26. So it's a fourth of a grade up, in another way to put it. So I just felt like it was, in the best interest of his department, and also for those employees who do have experience that they're offering, that they get something that's meaningful. And $100 over a year, for an additional duty just did not seem fair.
Were there other promotions that would not have fallen into this type of situation? It seems like you've addressed one or two examples or one or two individuals, but it seems like this same thing could happen for other promotions.
Well, in all the scenarios that we've had since we've had this new table in place, we've not had any other issues where that's in there, and we've only had the two incidences of these individuals at the sheriff's office. And like I said, it's really unique in that most of the other people in these positions would not have had the same tenure and experience. And in some cases, it's individuals that may have been at one point in time in a higher chain of command and then was demoted back and then was put back up and those type things. But of everything that we've seen, we've not had any others. This is just one of the things in all the testing, and Lisa and I tested the pay table for like 3 months in every type of scenario we could possibly think of at the time to make sure that there were not any glitches, and this is just one that we did not find at the time.
Looks like your solution in this case is to move these two individuals up one additional grade.
Subgrade.
One additional subgrade.
Mm-hmm.
It's
But
not just two.
It's everybody
it's a
in that
technical
role.
Well, that's what I mean.
To
These
this table.
two types of promotions.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But it seems like the problem was actually the way seniority or tenure was being counted. We went from a table that maybe had 13 or 14 different categories to one that had 56 different categories, but when we did that, we didn't adjust the way we were calculating seniority or tenure?
Well, we use the same measurement, the same weighted, so like, for example, if somebody's going into a pay grade 6 and they had prior experience in a pay grade 6 or above, they got 100% of their credit. So say somebody had been in a pay grade 6 for 5 years, and for whatever reason, maybe they wanted to go back to patrol, maybe they didn't want to be, you know, a corporal anymore. And that happens sometimes. People just say, well, I really enjoyed this job better than the other. And they would, if they went back down to a 5, they would still get their time credit for their time in a corporal's role or a pay grade 6, where 100%. And then what happens is every pay grade below whatever you're evaluating has a 20% drop to account for that, because, you know, based on the way it was aligned. So it's really not been an issue with any other, in the, going on 3 years now we've done it, this is the only position that we've had any issues with at all.
Well, if the sheriff's department is satisfied with this solution, then I'm not gonna try and get involved and muddy the waters. It just seems like in this case, your solution is to increase folks in these, who would be experiencing these 2 promotions by, what did you say, a subgrade?
It's
But it seems like the real problem was that when we went from the 14 category table to the 56 category table, we didn't make the same conversion with the way we were calculating tenure or seniority, and that would be the real solution to the problem.
I see what you're saying now. We still use in our calculations the primary grade. So I see what you're saying. At first I didn't understand your question. We're still using those primary grades in our calculations. So there wasn't really a need to change the way we calculated because we used the primary grades. Where it came into place is because we did use the subgrades. And we have evaluated what it would look like if we just went to calculating it based on that. And, you know, this is really...
This is sort of a technical correction, that this was a complicated process. Had they had all of their wisdom and foresight just coming perfectly aligned, they would have done it this way to start with.
How many individuals will be directly affected by this change immediately?
36 in the sheriff, 9 in the jail, 6 at correctional work center, and 5 at juvenile.
Well, the budget amendment I see is for 18.
There's 2.
Two.
There's 2 pages. The first page is sheriff and jail,
79, 710 on the first page,
and then
18, 222 on the second page.
Were they trying to get that out of their budget? I see in an unassigned fund balance here. Has this gone through the Public Safety Committee?
No, that is not.
Personally, I seen send it back, let them go through it. See if they can find that money in their own budget.
Well, we had a little discussion about that. In all probability, they won't use the budget, but Lisa didn't want us to wait till the end of the year to see if that happened. She wanted to go ahead and put this on the table up front, even though we likely will
We'll have
the money
I think the
in
sheriff,
unused funds.
the sheriff too wanted to go ahead and make the correction now, not have his people wait to the end.
Sheriff is in
We
the
give
room.
it to them on the front end, we'll know.
Due diligence is appropriate.
But if this had been caught 3 years ago, this would have been done.
This
when
would
the
have been
table was done.
retroactive to then. Now, it's only going to be retroactive until
July 1.
July 1 this year. Now, we're not going back further
So,
than that.
these people have been shorted 2 years' salary to some extent.
No.
Well, it could be interpreted that
It could
way.
be
If they
interpreted.
would
Could
have
be
been,
interpreted that way, but the 2 individuals are, I think, the recent individuals, and that's when it was brought forward.
Mr. Mayor, are you in support of this?
Yes.
Do we have any liability for back pay if we make that change?
Is the sheriff's department happy with it? The correctional work center, the juvenile detention? They satisfied or partially
Well,
satisfied or
The
very little?
problem occurred in the sheriff and jail.
Uh-huh.
We just wanted to keep everybody the same.
Okay.
So, I mean, you've got
Well-
sergeants at all these places, and so that's what we brought
Well,
forward.
let me ask it again. Are they all satisfied with this solution? They partially satisfied or not satisfied?
Mr. Sheriff, if you wanna
Are
join
you
in that table.
satisfied? This is about the sergeants as
Yes.
well.
With the pay plan that was, I didn't know y'all were stuck outside. It was brought to our attention by us going through the way that the payroll numbers and the way all this new pay plan was done, that there was a discrepancy. Joe Russell figured it out. We took it to the mayor, said, here. The mayor, everybody here got together, came up with payroll numbers. A couple of commissioners were talked to. These are the payroll numbers to make it right. So we caught it, brought it to the attention, and so they're here tonight
To correct it.
to correct it.
So the question I asked then, I would gather that the answer is that you were satisfied with this
Yes.
proposal.
All the sergeants, we sat down with every sergeant and showed them, and they were satisfied.
And roughly how much a year does this average out to per person?
Oh, gosh, I didn't calculate it by person.
Was it 1,000, what, 1,500 a person?
We got about 40.
Let me see.
You're spending,
Some
of
is
them are
more than others. I
100,000.
mean, there are some.
Yeah,
you're spending 40.
Can't
Well, I
be
can
that
tell
much
you.
difference.
Average.
I mean, it's anywhere from
20, 56
like,
people. Somebody got a calculator. I can't remember.
You got
56 total.
56 on $97,000,
Yeah.
it's under $2,000 a person.
Okay.
But that's, I mean, that's.
I mean, it
benefits
ranges
too.
based on the
That's
grade.
good.
So it's
That's
anywhere
still-
from 800 to 1,000.
Okay,
Yeah.
but it's not huge numbers.
Well, Doug, you're
It was
chairman
not
of
our
public
mistake.
safety. Are
That's
you
what I said.
comfortable dealing with this now? We can send it back to public
No,
safety.
no.
But then it'll end up right back here and we're gonna do it
Right, yeah.
retroactive anyway.
So
Who's
it's
wanting to
gonna
take it out of our
come.
budget?
Nobody.
But the other
Just
thing,
informally.
How would go that long and we didn't
yeah,
check?
it's been since, this came up back at the end of the budget talks, if
What-
I'm not mistaken. And why does it come straight to this budget committee and not one of the other ones when this is the July, August, September, October, this is fifth month? And all of a sudden, boom, here, it's come
Well,
right
we
to
had
here,
an
that's my
election.
point.
We
Huh?
had an election and we didn't meet. So that's part of the delay.
Well, everybody wasn't elected. People that figured this out weren't elected, is what I'm getting at. People that figured this out were, they were here.
Yeah.
We
Well,
haven't
it
discussed
was,
this
it
until
was
after
being,
the budget.
it was being kicked around. I know he brought up things that he said the
We
pay
brought up some things,
plan.
but not this in specific.
Okay.
What are the wishes of the committee? You wanna send it back to public
I
safety?
don't have any
or do you
problem
wanna
with
deal with
solving
it right
it
now?
tonight. Yeah, to get it up. And I'm sure these people will be happy to get that lump sum, back pay in their next paycheck or
Christmas right
whatever.
around the corner.
Yeah. there you
And
go.
that's the way it actually works out, is it will hit the paycheck of Christmas.
So now they're gonna have some happy children.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I don't mind solving it tonight, as long as he can take it out of his budget, not bring it out of unfunded mandate.
It was not our mistake.
I didn't say it was your mistake. I'm just saying, I'll be able to support it if you can get it out of your budget, and these other groups can get it out of their budgets if not, you know.
I don't think that's an option tonight, Commissioner P, because they haven't looked to when we can get it voted up or down, and
Well,
but we don't have a place to find it from at this moment in time right now.
Well, I kind of want to discourage trying to take it out of the sheriff's budget. I mean, I think it's appropriate to take it out of the unassigned fund balance, because you've otherwise got some folks here who are getting promoted and not getting pay raises. And that's not their fault. That's a problem with the way their pay was being calculated. And it's not calculated in the sheriff's department. The sheriff's department's just who discovered this.
Is that a
And it-
motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to
Okay.
approve this.
Thank you. Mr. Bond, we need a second.
I'll second it.
Second, Commissioner Shea. Any further discussion?
I'd just like to make a statement, if this had been discovered back at budget time, it would have come out of the total county money. It would not have come out of, his budget would have been the same, and then he had to figure a way to get it. That wouldn't have happened. And I just think pay is something, when it does occur, and it's not their fault, then it shouldn't be taken from jail repairs or whatever. And I think, because we worked on that to get that down to what we felt was reasonable. And this was something that was totally different.
And I do agree with the points that you make, the that there has to be a solution that has to be fixed. And we're talking about employees that are working hard for our county, and we can either take care of this now before the holidays or put it off, which just in turn just creates more issues that we don't need to have, so.
Well, the budget chairman just a few minutes ago said that clearly in her mind, he would have enough in his budget to pay for this and go ahead and pay for it on the front end. Or maybe I misunderstood
And the
you.
budget finance director,
Well-
budget chairman.
I'm sorry.
I said, you know, I guess at this point in time of the year, I feel more comfortable having it there. But we can, if y'all are all understanding and know that we've got this issue that will be coming in at the end of the year, it's just, the budget should be in a place to pay for the pay.
And I don't
Yeah.
disagree with that.
So,
On the other hand, it's not our fault that this wasn't caught then. As a matter of fact, had it been brought forward when it was caught, we probably would have taken care of it during budget. And that's my point. We're going into a budget that we've set, going into unfunded resources, and I don't think we need to do that when we don't have to. And I understood you to say the money was probably in his accounts to take care
but
of
we're not
this.
gonna know that until the end of the year.
So
we're
I
not gonna know
misunderstood
that.
you earlier.
Yeah.
Well, if we went,
Generally, there's, not all lines are spent, but we don't know that until the end of the year. I just don't wanna make the practice of setting a budget, giving pay, when at the point that we do it, there was not sufficient funds to pay it out.
And I don't want to set a precedence of getting into unfunded, unassigned fund balance when I don't have to.
Well, we also know that his natural gas budget is probably gonna need some more funds before the end of the year, since they found
It's the
the
water.
meters.
It's the water.
Water, okay.
Just stay on this right here.
I think everybody pretty much knows how they wanna vote at this point in time. I don't mean to cut anybody off, we've got a good ways to go and a lot of people that wanna get it home for dinner, so, let's just call a roll and let the chips fall where they may, if that's okay with everybody. Call roll.
Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Bauman,
Yes?
Commissioner Jernigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan,
Yes.
Commissioner Peake,
No,
Commissioner Shaker,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan.
Yes. Thank you a lot.
Thank y'all.
The hard one out of the way, now we can coach for a while. Investment report, Ms. Bratcher, you wanna come up, give us all the good news?
A little bit of good news. So we just had one CD come due this month. It was for 25 million. It was already invested with Capital Bank, and we reinvested it with them for a year at 0.50. It was 0.30, so a little bit better.
Made some money.
And that was it.
motion to approve the report.
Motion approved, do I have a second? Second, Mr. Kaplan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Fund condition report, Ms. Nolan.
Okay, starting with development tax. In October, we received $493,500, brings our total for the year $1,122,750. Cash balances at the end of October, we had $146,440,000, with $131,627,000 being operating funds, $14,814,000 being borrowed funds.
This bunch has been together a long time, so if you two have any questions at all, don't hesitate to.
Works helping me.
Because the rest of us, we're still fighting these iPads, but we've been, most of us been on this committee for a decade or longer.
If we're still on the cash balances, just bring your attention to one or two items. The last one is the Whitworth Buchanan property, shows a deficit of $4,534. We closed on that property. In estimating, when we did the budget for this particular thing, it was just a little rounding error on how much property you got, so it caused a deficit. Wasn't going to stop the sale because Jeff will be bringing an amendment transferring from another project. This is a middle school project, so we have to be real careful about where we take the money to satisfy that $4,500. And he'll be bringing that up later. Not tonight, though, right? Not tonight. Okay. I don't know if I don't have any other things that I want to bring up on the cash report this time.
Anybody got questions on that list?
One odd thing, if you look at debt service, I just bring the two new commissioners. The difference at October of 2013 in the debt service fund to October 2014 is that we had made an interfund borrowing from that fund to fund some capital projects before we went to the market of about $7.5 million. So it really is real close to the same balance. It's just that's where that money went on that comparison. If you don't have any other questions, we'll go on to the revenue. Did you have a question?
Unallocated.
Unallocated, okay.
Is what all's in it?
It was the difference of when we borrowed, there was a premium. If you remember, we did take part of that allocation and used it to buy the property at Whitworth Buchanan. I talk about this now, but what I would recommend to you, and I'll do this, I just kind of germinate. We're going to need that in the city county project on the Joby Jackson. Our part was $4 million, but there were other expenses, engineering and planning, that we have to share in the cost too. You can either vote to move that now, we can do that, or we can talk about that later. We just need to do it before probably end of December.
So we'll do that next one.
Do
You have
this
an
later.
official.
Right, he brought it up, but that's where I
Yeah.
would recommend that we move it.
Insurance went up 3.6 million. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes, from this point last year, we had a rate increase, and the year before that was a loss, about 3 or 4 million, so we've made up that. We'd like to move to the revenue. And what I try to do here, because when you look at the revenue balances, and for me, it was really hard to compare and look at that and say how far are we. Expenses are really easy. You're a quarter of the way through the year. Real easy to look at those expenses. But revenue comes in at different times. So I prepared this sheet to just kind of give us a baseline of, well, where are we right now compared to the last 5 years, to give us a sense of, are we on track? So in looking at these numbers, if the percentage is higher than in the other previous years, that's a good indication that we are higher in our budget year. So there may be a potential for amending revenues up at the end of the year. But some things sometimes things happen that kind of skew that, and the drug fund would be one of them, where they've had some fines and forfeitures that came in quicker than other parts of the year. So that kind of can skew that ending bound, that percentage collected. But within these numbers, we've had 1 month reported in our collections for property tax for the current levy. Well, we're higher than we were in that first month last year. But if y'all remember with the certified tax rate, really I think that number is overstated. We've over budgeted in that line. So those are the things that we just kind of keep in mind. Sales tax, on the other hand, is doing really well. I think I've got these notes on your iPad.
Say that again about the certified tax that you think we over budgeted?
I over budgeted. Remember us discussing and we had to reset. So I said that we would have to come back at some point in time and may have to adjust that. Sales tax for 3 months reporting for the county overall, we are up over 9%. On the rural sales tax and that money funds, goes to the county solid waste and highway department, that's up 13%. BEP, I think, is up 6%.
That's just in line with our budgets.
That's a lot, that's kind of where we are on that. So, anyway, I would tell you, I didn't put the happy faces on here, but
That's how we usually know if it's a good month or not. We get happy faces or frowny faces. But this month's kind of in between. We didn't get either one of them. So.
let's see. But you can look at it and compare. The majority of them are higher than the previous months, or at least within the ballpark of where we would be.
Did you say what the major increase was in the other local revenue? It was 71% over 23 before,
Wait a minute, where are you at?
50%.
That's on your first page, total local taxes. Right here on this.
Total
The other local, down here.
other
That's 71.
What's that big jump?
local.
From last year?
Okay, I'll have to dig into that one. In local taxes is
Other local.
interest, no, yeah,
Other
interest,
local revenues.
other local
The
it's
money from
taxes.
Smyrna wasn't.
No, it's not that, because that's in schools. I have to dig down in that one.
Whatever it is, we want more of it.
Yes, we want more local revenue.
Yes.
Okay. Sure about my budget. If I can get back with you on that.
Okay.
Any further questions of Ms. Nolan? Entertain a motion to approve the report.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Kaplan. Any second?
Second.
Mr. Bond. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Ms. Street, Risk Management Financial Report.
If you look at your reports, we'll begin with Fund 264 for the month of October. Our per employee per month self-funded claims experience for October was $847 compared to a prior year of $746, with a year-to-date average of $895 compared to prior of $839. When we combine the on-site medical clinic experience, we see an increase to $891 compared to prior year of $785, with a year-to-date average of $925.54 compared to prior year of $869.23. I did go back and look because I saw that we were at a 6.5% increase year over year. Comparing the 2012-13 to 13-14, we actually were at 914. So I'm not so worried about what we're trending at right now. It's still early enough in the fiscal year. We should balance that out. Moving on to Fund 266 for the month of October. $243,510 compared to the prior year of $162,280. We have 14 open worker comp claims right now.
Is there any more that is supposedly closed that are gonna come back, maybe?
They can always come back.
Yeah.
Some of them have the lifetime medical attached. We generally don't see that number move by, 2, maybe 3 points from time to time, but we generally hover around the, as they come off, they stay off. We were at 19, not a year ago, so we've been able to close some out in the last year.
Any further questions of Ms. Street?
Motion to approve the report.
Thank you, Commissioner Sheffer. Second, Commissioner P, I believe. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Can I come back to your question? I believe one of the increases was sale of property. We sold some property, some old tax sale stuff. So that I know has come in.
Okay.
I'll
Didn't take her long to get back to you.
She's good.
Yeah.
On it. We have a small amount of property, of no real substantial value.
Mr. Tuggle, we're up ready for the general fund budget amendment for the ag extension.
Good evening, everyone. We're looking to move $19,000 from our full-time secretary position who retired October 31st to hire a part-time admin support and also to hire a part-time program assistant. So we want to move $19,000 from that line to a part-time line to hire those two people.
Motion to approve. Second.
Commissioner Payne, Commissioner Jernigan. Any further discussion? Of course, I should say 3 of the committee members here are on your ag committee, and we had approved this last week, so we've seen this before, but call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes?
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Resolution authorizing fire and rescue to apply for assistance to firefighters grant. Chief Farley.
Through past grants, the Rutherford County Fire Rescue Department has been able to upgrade and obtain 45 PSI bottles. I'm going to request to write a grant for AFG for around $500,000. The reason for that is that all the volunteer fire departments are still running off the 30-minute bottles that have a 15-year cap on how long those bottles can stay in service. They're coming to the end of that time period. The air packs are about $7,000 a piece, and it runs about 10 air packs per department. And by doing that, it would replace the SCBAs that they have in place at this time. It would upgrade and give them more air capacity and provide more safety in fighting structure fires.
What is the match?
10%.
10%? Okay,
At
I see.
least 10, it can go up.
How much?
50,000, you say?
It's
Well, I mean,
500,000.
we've seen 25% match.
Well, according to the grant itself, it's 10%.
Okay.
Of course, this is
It states at least 10%
At
for
least
a
10.
for a city, for
of course, this is permission to apply. We
Yeah.
do see this again.
Yes, sir. I went
And
through-
if it
we-
comes back at too much of a match, we can always say, hey, we don't really want to spend $150,000. And we could always reject it, so I hate to put some grant writer through a lot of extra work, but that's what gives me the comfort level with things like this, because we have to accept it. We can always reject it at that point in time.
Move to approve.
Second.
We
Motion,
can,
Mr. Jernigan, Commissioner Kaplan.
we can get a partial of this too, can't we? I mean, they can approve 300,000, can't they, instead of 500,000?
Well, if you do that, then some departments are not going to get SCBAs. And like I say, they were purchased in 1990 with the trucks. They're at 15 years, those bottles they have to be taken out of service. So basically, they're losing air packs. And it affects the way that they are able to.
What I was saying is, who is it, the federal government is where it comes through?
FEMA, yes.
Okay. They could give us 300,000 instead of 500,000 if they so desire.
He's
Is this
saying
an
that
up to
we apply for
500,000?
we
Yeah,
might
they
not
could.
get it.
Everything they get over there.
No.
But then, like I say, whatever we get,
You're
we
saying we
accept
gotta
it.
make it up
We
somewhere
bring-
else.
We bring it back here, and you can either accept it or deny it. So tonight, I'm just asking for permission to apply for the grant.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum? Yes. Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Thank
Thank you, Chief. Sheriff's Department. Approval for general fund budget amendment. They're hiding out there somewhere.
We're gonna bring theirs up here.
There he is.
Gone.
Good evening.
First one tonight is we've got got a couple of grants here to talk about. First one I've got is the recognized revenue for the JAG grant for 2014. We were awarded $33,545, and we're going to put that into our law enforcement equipment line item on the sheriff's office budget, number 716.
Motion approved.
Approve these together?
Yeah.
Does anybody have a problem with that? Anybody does, let me know. If not, we'll just put them together.
Go to the next one. Okay. We also were awarded from the Governor's Highway Safety Office, the Teen Driving Safety Grant. It comes with some equipment and some overtime, and so we were awarded $24,962. The overtime was, as stipulated by the grant, was broken down into, $4,545 of overtime and related benefits, and then $19,525 of other supplies. And that's for the program itself.
Any questions on that one?
And that one we also need to accept the grant.
And I've given the
Commissioner
grant
Sound is no
paperwork.
longer with us to say overtime. I know, I'm watching right now.
And these are two that we get every year, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This third one's DEA. Do we need to do these first two together and then do that one separate?
Yeah.
So let's back up and take, if somebody willing.
Motion to
Questions or-
approve the two.
Motion on the two to accept the grant and
Second.
transfers. Schaefer and Fee. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Motion passes.
Ready for the next one?
DEA fund, I believe.
Yes, sir.
next.
Okay, we had asset forfeiture funds in the amount of $27,363.44. And they have requested to put $15,000 in a confidential line item, and then the remaining balance of $12,363.44 into other equipment.
Move to approve.
Motion approved. Commissioner Jernigan.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Baum.
You said they wanted to.
Yes.
Who is they?
The narcotics narcotics team. Yes.
He could tell you who they are, but he had to shoot you.
Yeah.
It's the infamous they.
The infinite.
They go right along with miscellaneous on the
line item
budget.
too. Yeah, the confidential line item.
Miscellaneous and they go hand in hand.
Yes.
Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
That's it.
Motion passed. Thank you all.
Thank you for your time.
Mr. Gregory, general fund budget amendment for cause.
Good evening.
Welcome.
We're asking to move some money from our Paul's donation line over into our other supplies and our data processing equipment line. We currently have 7 tough books and 7 officers. We have 2 additional officers. One starts tomorrow and one that'll be starting in December. So we need to purchase tough books for those folks to be able to use in the field. And none of our vehicles currently have laptop mounts, so they're having to put those in the seats. We'd like to be able to get those installed in the vehicles to protect that equipment.
Move to approve.
Second. Approved, Commissioner Jernigan, second, Commissioner Schaefer. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. General fund budget amendment for election commission. Are you handling that, Ms. Nolan?
Yes, sir. This is a request to move funds within his budget to move $5,000 from office equipment to furniture and fixtures to replace office furniture in the main area and a computer server storage rack for the ECO server to be moved off the floor.
Is that bad that an ECO is on the floor?
Apparently it's bad for an ECO to be on the floor.
Move to approve.
Motion approved, Mr. Jernigan.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Allen. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Jernigan?
He said
Yes.
something.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. You were on a roll there for a while. 12, resolution approving contract extension with MTSU for Health Department. Ms. Noel.
I'm doing this for Miss Dana Garrett, who could not be here tonight. This is an extension of the grant that she has, a contract with MTSU to administer the Smart Moms program, and they are asking for it to extend to December 31st, 2016 for 2 more years. And really, it's just, they have 2 years to spend this money.
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Kaplan. Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Highway Department budget amendment.
Yes, this was left off from last month, so we're bringing it to you this month. And it is moving $30,000 from their crushed stone to their liability insurance to pay claims.
Motion to approve.
Motion, Mr. Jernigan.
I'll second.
Second, Commissioner Allen. Any further questions? I doubt this is one we have a lot of choice on.
Right, we probably don't, but what was the liability that we incurred? Correct?
No,
It's not necessarily one. This money will be ultimately transferred to the self-insured insurance fund, and then will just be available to pay future claims. I think we had a new claim as a result of an accident that put it over the money that they had previously put in there that I think was from maybe a couple of years ago. They typically don't have a lot of claims at the Highway Department, but we're just basically refunding the Fund 263.
All right, thank you.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Resolution authorizing county archives apply for Tennessee State Library and Archives grant.
And Mr. Lodell, I think, is in class at this moment. He could not be here, but he is asking for permission to apply for a grant that is for $2,500, and it is no match that he expects, does not expect a match, and it is to provide monies for part-time to scan old records, old tax and deed books.
Sounds exciting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion, Commissioner Jernigan, second, Commissioner P. Believe they're gonna be doing that for the rest of all of our lives.
That's right, yeah.
We keep making records too.
Yeah.
Well, instead of putting them
I
on
don't, that's money.
microfiche,
Call the
hopefully
roll.
we'll put them on what they're putting them on now.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Approval of general fund budget amendment for circuit court clerk. Ms. Harrell, if you want to join us up here. I think we've got another item under other business we'll talk to you about when we get through with this, which might be a reason why the whole thing was.
This is a request, you want to do?
I'm requesting for an amendment for $15,000 for the data processing services. Basically, it's for the conversion costs, just to give me an option, just in case you guys only meet, or this is the last time you meet, and the old computer system is supposed to go out, contract is supposed to go out November the 30th, so just in case I need to extend it longer, I'll need to be able to if I had to.
This will give her funding to get her through the end of the year, right, to the end of
Fiscal year.
fiscal year.
And that's on,
June 30th.
that's the old system, the one that's supposed to, that we're not supposed to be using right now. Right, we're supposed to be into the new system, correct?
My
But
understanding, of
who
course, that
use?
you have to use both systems to transfer off one to the other for some period of time. And we're gonna hear about the new system here in a minute. Don't worry about it. You're gonna hear a lot about it.
I make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve this transfer. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Commissioner Bond?
Does she have that money in her budget instead of going in the unassigned funds?
Again, it's early in the year.
Ought to be plenty of money in there, right?
Well, it's only $146,000 to start with, and there's one purchase order that we have outstanding that we have the money if we don't pay that bill, and we may not pay it until we see how the new system actually works. These are maintenance agreements that we have with GSA is the old system. We very, very much need this. We have to have access to this data through this conversion or through anyone else's conversion system.
So
that
you're
we
just
use.
basically talking about an extension that we hadn't paid for, but we may
Yeah,
or
we
may
were,
not need.
they were going to cancel this agreement at the end of November. We need access to that data for an extended period of time.
So how long does this extend us?
Through June the 30th.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Motion passes. Well, Ms. Harrell, just keep your seat, because I was asked to, that you talk to the budget committee during other business, and so.
What do you want me to say?
I think this was it.
That's what, oh, that was that? Oh,
That
I
was
thought
that.
that was it,
No.
okay, I thought there was something else beside that, but,
No, I think that was it.
okay.
I mean, I can talk to you all night, but
No,
I know
no.
you're
But
hungry.
this was, I think at one point was gonna be under other business, but we got
Okay,
it in.
okay, well, I thought we had some other stuff besides that, but, so this is all we need, just to be able to keep them both open for now. Well, that suits me.
Yes,
All right.
it's me,
Well,
okay.
Well, let's let her sit there for a minute. Let's talk about what I brought up that you said was gonna be other business. But
Well,
and I know, but I'd like to know, because this was, you know, I'm getting older, so memory, time, it seems to me that this new system was to be basically in by now, is what I thought. And it's obviously, and it was supposed to be way better than this GSA one, that they weren't, they were charging us an arm and leg for it, couldn't do this, they couldn't do that, and they were out of parts for it because it was an old system, they weren't making them anymore. And I'd just like to know where this new system stands right now, and why it isn't, I would say, performing up to the capabilities we thought it was going to. And anybody that knows an answer, I'd love to hear it, where we are with it, when it's gonna come be online completely.
It's a
Do we-
massive conversion. Right now, we're going through some major hiccups. We're humping and pumping through it. Hopefully, it'll work, and if not, then we'll have to do something different at the time.
Well, okay, Ms. Nolan, when was it that we approved the money for this system with Ms. Boland? 18 months ago, we approved it, something like that?
2012 is when I think that we started talking about it.
Come over. I'd love to show you the system.
I've been over there and I got lost. No, it was what was there, I'm serious.
Let me say something that I didn't know I'm going to say that. She just said it's extraordinarily complex system. The system is not performing up to expectations. And in the next 2 to 4 weeks, Mrs. Harrell and her team and others, I think, need to make a rational and reasoned decision whether we cut the cord and move to something else. I mean, I think it's to that point that we're not sure that it's going to, I'm not speaking for her. There's enough information flowing to all of us to give us great pause as to whether we can be successful with this system. And I think we don't have, the further we go down this road, if we're going to have to stop, the quicker we do that, the better off we'll be. So I don't know what else to tell you except that, but I think it's a gut check, and it's immediate.
I talked to an attorney I know in Nashville today, and he said some years ago, 6 or 7, 8 years ago, Metro went through a similar conversion to try and go paperless, and said it was the biggest nightmare they ever went through for about a year. And they apparently like it now, but said there was pressure put on the city council down there and everybody to ditch the program and this, because everybody, well, it just takes you a while to get your hands around something like this. But I would just ask that you work with Mr. Robertson and IT, and y'all, everybody be on the same page if something does come back to this committee, and you know, before we talk about potentially throwing $700,000 or $800,000 out the window we spent on.
Well, that's what I was
on
going to ask. Were there any performance guarantees in the
That's
contract?
it. Do we have any recourse on the current company
Well,
to spend this money with?
our attorney is reviewing the options based on the information that we're gathering of how it's performing or not performing, okay?
Because if they misrepresented what it could do, then there ought to be some recourse to recover some of those funds.
Are we still in good relations with the company? Is the communication channel open?
Yes, sir.
And you said it's about 700 or 800 that we've already invested.
Yes.
You're talking to a mortgage industry guy of 15 years that we've gone paperless. So I've been through the last 5 or 6 years. I think it would be good for us to have some basic expectations, a timeline versus coming upon, hey, we need to dump it, or hey, we're at June, we need another 15,000. I mean, I think it would be wise to be advised and be informed of what's the next step.
I think what you're talking about, the Davidson County ended up going to a different system, which is a local, not local, you could say, but a Tennessee system. And then they were fine. I don't know if we can ever go completely paperless in the criminal world, because I can't see the police officer serving an iPad to a criminal for a warrant. So I don't know. We'll ride this wave and hopefully get through it.
Are they providing a training that contract, what we feel the contract says they should give? Are they bringing people here that to work with you?
They have brought people here. They're not here now.
Have they been here recently?
No, sir. Well, it's been
In the last
Been a
month?
few weeks,
few weeks. Yeah, a couple weeks
or
ago.
maybe more than a few weeks.
3 weeks.
I think Ms. Harold jumped straight into the frying pan when she took office. She just dove in about the same time all this was ramping up, so. But we're all on the same team here, and I think you can just depend on us to support whatever needs to be done. We'll make it through this.
Thank you. Well, can I leave now?
We can all leave now. Anything else?
Yeah, I'd like to ask one thing of finance for at the next meeting, if you can if y'all can go through and how much we've actually taken this fiscal year from unassigned fund balance. That's
Okay.
not money that was put in, that was left over from last year, that we've get, you know. The sheriff has stuff from grants and all at the end of the year, you know.
I understand what you're saying.
So-
Not new revenue, you just want,
No, I think we've done some.
I'm not sure.
I think we've done a,
Last month we were doing reach back to get stuff that was
Yeah,
carried over.
that's why I'm asking.
There wasn't
you're
any
not
new money
talking about
last
just
month.
new stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's all
the
we
last
did.
month was
All
all
carryover stuff.
carryover, and if there was some match, I think that we may have had a couple that we had to do some matching for. The vehicles at assessors, we had to record that match. But yes, I will do that.
Well, it's just from tonight then, isn't it?
It's probably, I mean, we've gone into unassigned, but I'll have a good little spreadsheet for you.
Paperwork where you be sending it.
But this was the
For the
Well, based on what we.
new members and maybe for the rest of us, would it be possible to, when you get this together, email this, the full packet with all the stuff? Because we don't get all the stuff at home usually. I guess we do get all the stuff.
Let me ask Lisa, is this already, all of this posted on the SharePoint? And I'm not sure these people even know what SharePoint is and how to retrieve it.
It is posted on SharePoint. It usually doesn't get posted until Wednesday afternoon.
And that's when it goes on this too.
Right, right.
And sometimes we're at the end, posting.
We can review that and see.
There's nothing else to come before the committee. We'll adjourn.